You ever notice how sometimes the biggest breakthroughs just kind of sneak up on us?
Yeah, like you don't see them coming at all. No big announcements, no nothing.
Exactly. And today we're going to dive into one of those sneaky game changers.
Okay, spill the beans. What is it?
We're talking AI. Specifically, the quiet launch of something called DeepSeek V3-0324.
DeepSeek. That's a new one.
Right. They're a Chinese AI company, and this V3-0324 thing is their latest large language model.
So basically a really fancy AI brain for processing text and all that.
Bingo. But here's the kicker. They didn't do any of the usual song and
No
dance.
press releases, no big launch events.
Nope. This massive 641 gigabyte model just popped up out of nowhere on March 24th on Hugging Face.
Hugging Face. Isn't that the platform where they share all those AI models?
Yeah, exactly. It's like the go-to place for AI stuff these days.
So this DeepSeek thing just materializes on Hugging Face with no fanfare whatsoever. Kind of makes you wonder why, huh?
That's what we're going to unpack today. Why this quiet launch is making waves and what it tells us about the future of AI. We're going to cut through the hype and get to the core insights, using some solid info, mostly from an article over at VentureBeat.
VentureBeat on a ride, always a good source for tech stuff.
So we got this massive AI model just dropping out the sky. What makes it so special besides the whole stealth launch thing?
Well, for starters, there's the licensing. DeepSeek released this V3-0324 under the MIT license.
MIT license. So that means it's open source, right?
Yeah, totally free to use, even commercially.
Hold on. Free. A model this big, and they're just giving it away.
That's the crazy part. It's unheard of for something of this scale.
That's got to be a game changer for developers and companies who want to build with AI.
No doubt. It removes a huge barrier to entry for a whole lot of folks.
Yeah.
And there's more. AI researcher Ani Hannon got it running on an Apple Mac Studio, that one with the M3 Ultra chip.
A Mac Studio? Wait, that's like 10 grand, isn't it?
Yeah, but here's the point. A 600 plus gigabyte AI model is running locally, not in some giant data center, but on a desktop.
Wow, that's a huge shift. Imagine the possibilities if powerful AI doesn't need these massive cloud setups anymore.
Definitely something to think about. So we got a surprise release. It's massive, it's free, and it can run on a beefy desktop. But how does it actually perform?
That's the million-dollar question, right? What can this thing actually do?
Early reports are looking pretty good. Another AI researcher, Zeofon, did some tests and said it's a huge jump in all metrics. They even claimed it's the best non-reasoning model out there, beating out Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 3.5.
Better than Sonnet 3.5, that's a big claim. I mean, Sonnet is one of those top-tier models, right? And you need a subscription to even use it.
Exactly. DeepSeek's model is free to download, which is a huge deal. Imagine the kind of innovation that can happen when something this powerful is open for everyone to tinker with.
Totally. Okay, so it's powerful, it's free, but what's the magic sauce behind it? How does it manage this level of performance?
VentureBeat's article dug into that. The key is this thing called Mixture of Experts, or MOE architecture.
MOE sounds complicated.
It's actually pretty clever. See, traditional large language models activate all their parameters for every single task. It's like having a huge orchestra playing every note at once, whether you need it or not.
Yeah, seems kind of inefficient.
Exactly. Now, DeepSeek's model has like 685 billion of these parameters, right?
Yeah.
But with MOE, it only activates about 37 billion of them for any given task, only the ones that are actually needed.
So it's like a smart allocation of AI brain power.
You got it. It's like the conductor only calling on the instruments that are needed for a specific piece of music. Way more efficient.
That's a great analogy. The article also mentioned something about multi-head latent attention, MLA for short, and multi-token prediction, which is MTP. What are those all about?
Okay, so MLA, that's all about context. It helps the model remember things over longer stretches of text. Like in a conversation, it can keep track of what's been said way back.
So it doesn't have AI goldfish memory.
Uh-huh. Pretty much. And then there's MTP. That's all about speed. Instead of generating one word at a time, this thing can spit out multiple words or tokens in one go. Apparently, it makes the output like 80% faster.
That explains how it can run on a desktop without taking forever. Didn't they also do something to shrink the model down? Something about a quantized version or something?
Yeah, they did a 4-bit quantization, which basically squishes the model's data down, making it smaller and faster to run.
So it's like zipping a file on your computer.
Yeah.
Takes up less space, but you can still use it.
Exactly. Simon Willison, a developer, pointed out that this trick shrinks the model down to like 352 gigabytes. Suddenly running it on a Mac Studio doesn't sound so crazy anymore.
So we got potentially top-tier AI performance on a desktop using way less power than a server farm. That's a pretty big deal, wouldn't you say?
No doubt. It changes the whole game in terms of who can access and use this kind of technology. But let's not forget the big picture here. DeepSeek's whole open source approach is a huge departure from what we're seeing with a lot of Western AI companies.
Yeah, it's like two totally different philosophies clashing. Why would DeepSeek go this open route? It seems counterintuitive.
Well, the VentureBeat article dug into that a bit. They suggested it's all about supercharging China's AI scene. By making this tech free, they're letting everyone build on it, experiment, and innovate.
Ah, so it's like a rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing.
Exactly. Startups, researchers, everyone can jump in without worrying about crazy licensing fees.
It's a smart move strategically.
Definitely. In a market as competitive as China's, this open approach can make DeepSeek a leader, not by controlling the tech, but by empowering the entire ecosystem.
Makes sense. Plus, it's not just DeepSeek doing this. Other big Chinese tech companies are opening up their AI models too, right?
You got it. Baidu's open source in their Ernie 4.5 series, and Alibaba and Tencent are getting in on the action too.
Seems like a coordinated effort.
It's a pretty big contrast to how things are done in the West, where it's all about APIs and controlled access. The article also pointed out something interesting about this whole open source thing.
What's that?
They suggested it might be driven by the restrictions on NVIDIA chips going into China. You know, those high-end GPUs that are used for training AI models.
Ah, so by open sourcing their models and focusing on efficiency, they're turning a potential weakness into a strength.
Exactly. If they can't easily get the latest and greatest hardware, they got to make do with what they got. And this whole DeepSeek V3-0324 release, it feels like it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, the article hinted at a new model on the horizon, DeepSeek R2, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a reasoning-focused model. What's the connection to this V3 thing?
Well, if you look at their past releases, they usually follow up a V version with an R version, the R standing for reasoning. So it's a pretty safe bet that this V3-0324 is the foundation for R2, which should be coming out pretty soon, maybe within the next couple of months.
So if this V3 is already making waves as a non-reasoning model, what kind of impact could an open source reasoning model like R2 have?
Well, reasoning models are all about problem solving. They can do things like code, solve math problems, stuff that's really complex. Imagine that kind of power being freely available to anyone.
Wow, that could really shake things up. Right now, those advanced reasoning models are mostly locked up in research labs or behind expensive paywalls.
Exactly. Open source and R2 could democratize access to that kind of tech, giving individuals and smaller companies a chance to play in the big leagues. And the article brought up something else that's pretty mind-blowing.
What's that?
It mentioned a quote from NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang. Apparently, he said that DeepSeek's R1 model, the previous reasoning model, used 100 times more computing power than a non-reasoning AI.
100 times? That's insane.
It shows just how much more demanding these reasoning models are. But the fact that DeepSeek can even create these models with the resource they have is a testament to their engineering skills.
It's like they're doing more with less.
Exactly. And with R2 on the horizon, it looks like they're going to go head-to-head with OpenAI's rumored GPT-5. Two totally different approaches to the future of AI, both aiming for the top.
This is getting really exciting. Okay, so let's say someone wants to try out DeepSeek V3-0324 right now. What do they got to do?
Well, if you're a developer and you've got the setup for it, you can download the whole thing right from Hugging Face.
Yeah.
But for the rest of us, there's an easier way.
Tell me more.
OpenRedder offers a free API to the model. They even have a nice chat interface so you can just type in your prompts and see what it comes up with.
Oh, cool. So you don't need any fancy technical skills to play around with it.
Nope, it's pretty user-friendly. You just got to choose DeepSeek V3-0324 from the list, and you're good to go.
Sounds easy enough. And what about DeepSeek's own platform?
They have a chat interface at chat.deepseek.com. No official word yet, but folks are saying it's got the new model running on it.
Yep.
And if you're a developer looking to integrate the model into your app, there are some services like Hyperbolic Labs on Hugging Face that can help you do that.
So there are options for everyone, from curious tinkers to serious developers. That's pretty cool. You know, I've been seeing some chatter online about how this V3-0324 model has a bit of a different personality than the older version.
Oh, yeah. What's the buzz?
Apparently, it's more formal, less conversational, and more technically oriented. Some people are saying it's lost its charm.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've seen some of those comments too. Seems like DeepSeek's made a conscious decision to move away from that human-like chattiness and focus more on accuracy and precision.
Makes sense if they're targeting professionals and developers who need reliable results.
Yeah, for those folks, a model that's concise and to the point is probably way more valuable than one that tries to be your buddy.
True. But it does make you wonder if they're sacrificing some of that mass appeal. This whole DeepSeek story, especially their commitment to open source, it feels like a real watershed moment for AI. It's not just about who has the biggest, most secretive model anymore.
I totally agree. Open source changes everything. It levels the playing field and opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
The VentureBeat article made a comparison to Android. You know how Google open sourced Android and it became the dominant mobile platform? They're saying open source AI could do the same thing.
Yeah, it's a compelling argument. Imagine a world where everyone has access to powerful AI tools, not just the big tech giants.
That's a pretty exciting thought and a little bit scary too, if we're being honest.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
There are definitely challenges and risks that come with making this kind of tech widely available. But the potential benefits are huge too. It's like DeepSeek is saying, hey, the future of AI shouldn't be controlled by a few companies. Let's build it together.
And with V3-0324, they're putting the money where their mouth is. Who knows what kind of amazing things people are going to build with this tech?
That's the beauty of it. We're just at the beginning of this whole open source AI movement. It's a quiet revolution, but it has the potential to be just as impactful as the invention of the internet.
So as we wrap up, it's time for our listeners to do some thinking. Imagine this powerful AI, not just in some far-off data center, but potentially running on your laptop, your phone, maybe even your smartwatch someday.
What kind of world does that create? What are the opportunities? What are the risks?
It's a lot to ponder, but one thing's for sure, things are about to get very interesting in the world of AI.
No doubt about it. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time.
Stay curious, everyone.